Welcome everyone to this video where we are going to speak about how to awaken that magic, that feeling of mystery, that witchcraft within your soul, within your heart. This video is meant for beginners, but it could also be something to reignite your practice if you have been practicing witchcraft for a while and have fallen out of it. But we are going to go over the basics of how to feel like a witch and how to develop the right mindset and the right feeling for it and the right feeling of freedom and wonder and magic. That is what this video is all about, and I hope that you stay with me because I'm going to give you 7 pieces of advice. It's going to be a mix of practical things that you can do right now, or mindset changes or mental tips that I have as a witch of almost 9 or 10 years or something of the sort. Well, if you count the years that I've actually been practicing and calling myself a witch, because I feel like a lot of us, since childhood, we've already done witchy things, but we didn't necessarily call ourselves witchy. But whether that applies to you or not, we're definitely going to find a way for you to start or reignite your practice in this video. I want to make it very clear that this is not a spell tutorial or a video telling you need to research 1,000 topics like herbalism, crystal magic, occultism to start off in witchcraft, because I truly believe that's not the best thing to do when you're just starting out. You first need to develop a little bit of a feeling for it and develop your interests, and that's what we're going to talk about in this video. It's kind of the groundwork of feeling like a witch rather than feeling like an imposter, you know? And it's only a very short intro. There's a million ways you could do this, obviously. There's a million ways you can reignite or ignite your passion for witchcraft, you know? But these are just a few that came to me, and these are what I consider to be the most important to find what really lights you up, and not to follow a book or follow a tutorial to give yourself some sort of label. So that's exactly why I'm making this video right now. I want to inspire you to really find what makes your magic yours, what makes your practice inspiring for you, rather than take over what maybe other people are saying online, because there's so much, so much online content about how to be a witch and about all of the requirements for it, you know, the gatekeeping of you need a lot of ingredients, you need a lot of tools, you need a lot of books. And we want to start without all of that stress. And we're going to start a little bit more heart-centered in this video. And at the end of the day, hopefully you will go out of this video being inspired to make your practice yours and not try to copy something from online, you know, because reels, books, AI, don't go asking AI, please. Because witchcraft is something that you really have to uncover yourself. It's something you have to dig up, something you have to remember, maybe even. It's something that you have to weave, and it's all yours. And that is probably the first and most important piece of advice that I'm not even counting with these 7. This is a bonus. But the first thing is you really need to trust yourself and trust your heart, your intuition, and explore in the directions that you want to explore and that you feel called to, not the directions that make you look the most witchy or that make you seem the most witchy to the outside, but the ones that make you feel the most witchy to yourself and to yourself only. And that is what we're going to be exploring today. If you don't know me, I'm Anya Esma. I've been on YouTube since 2018, teaching tarot, talking about spirituality, talking about witchcraft. So subscribe if you want to see my face again, and if that approach to witchcraft resonates with you, away from all of the many rules and requirements and ingredients and strict spells that you need to follow. I'm here. here I am. All right, let's get started. The first thing, and that was very central to my own growth and experience as a witch, was to remember my childhood and what I did to feel magical and witchy back then. A lot of us have lost that feeling of magic in everyday life. We are all getting older, we're all growing up, and slowly, we forget what it truly feels like to be a magical being, to perceive things that go beyond the physical world. We just kind of push that away. And that is why our childhood is such an important clue. Because in your childhood, no matter what it was like, you will have had some mental capacity or mental escapism towards a more magical mindset of life. You will have perceived seasons differently. You will have perceived nature differently. And those are the feelings that we want to bring up. Those are the feelings we want to observe and explore. For me, for example, it was observing nature, made me feel very connected, very magical. You know, that feeling that you just get when you feel like everything is in order, you are safe, the world is magical. Try to really bring that feeling to your mind and think about what it was as a child. For me, it was maybe even drawing nature, not just being in it, but drawing it. Building little amusement parks for ants is something I did. You know, making small installations or art pieces with sticks or with leaves. And that is what made me feel calm and made me feel magical. Maybe for you, it was that you were brewing potions from sand, from plants, from anything you could find. Or maybe you were trying to read people's minds and that made you feel a little bit magical. And going back to those joys that you had as a child, even if they seem unmagical, oftentimes activates something within you and leads you also to the most spiritually activating practices that you can find. It could even be exercise or sports. If you felt truly magical while doing that, I didn't, but maybe you did. You know, that could also be the basis for your witchiness, for your witchcraft. Anything can be witchy if you do it intentionally, if you feel it in your soul, and if you feel the energies and the magic that that thing holds. So it doesn't just have to be, you know, the potion brewing and the obviously witchy stuff. We're really talking about exploring what gave you a feeling of joy and of magic and of connection as a child. Now, it's really important that you know what that feeling feels like. If you cannot quite feel into that feeling, you're listening to me and you're like, I don't even know what you're talking about, then I think the easiest way to unlock that is to go into meditation and try to go back into a sort of childlike perception of the world, or go out in nature and go into that childlike perception of the world. Really try to do something, anything that sort of unlocks that sense of wonder within you. Just try things, because I feel like that feeling is really the basis of being able to perceive energies, being able to work magic, being able to feel like a witch and not just, you know, say it or do spells without feeling anything. Because I think there are people out there who do spells and they really feel nothing. They just kind of go through the motions, and that's not what we're wanting to do as witches, you know? So that's important. Now, the second thing, this can also help you if you are trying to unlock that part of you, is to find an archetype or a specific character, maybe from movies, from books, that really fascinated you, either as a child or it could even be today. If you are into fantasy books, all the better, because then you will have a lot of examples of sorceresses, of witches probably. And working with those archetypes, with those specific characters, is going to help you a lot. For me, for example, it was Yennefer from the Witcher video games, Witcher books, and now also bad TV series. And it could be for you, if you maybe grew up in Eastern Europe, it could be Baba Yaga, because she is a very important icon of Eastern European fairy tales. It needs to be something you have a connection with, you know? It shouldn't be something where you're thinking like, I will just think about what are my roots or my parents' roots and then try to connect with something that you've never seen. So maybe for a lot of people it could be Harry Potter as well, even though I feel like with all of the magic that's happening, there's not so much witchiness in it. At least for me personally, it doesn't really tickle that itch. But maybe for you it does. Or it could be any other magician or witch that comes to your mind that you'd like to connect to. What is important is, as I said, you don't just pick like a random goddess. You can do that later, but for the beginning of your practice, I wouldn't pick a random goddess, a random character, a random fairy tale, unless it really strongly resonates with you. I would pick something I already know that gives me that feeling of connection and of magic, something I associate with witchcraft or with magic, with wisdom, anything like that. So think about it. I would be very interested in the comments to hear what that figure could be for you, because I do have a lot of, like, I made a whole list of women who inspired me in general. That is probably also how I found my connection to Yennefer, because I wrote down all of the movie and video game and book characters that really spoke to me and looked at what do they have in common. And if you find a particularly witchy one that makes you feel powerful, that makes you feel witchy, makes you feel like your best self, then all the better. It doesn't have to be women, obviously it can be men as well. For me, it was all women for sure. So that's the second tip I have. And with that character, of course, you can meditate then, which is the third part. You can meditate, you can listen, you can go into places where this character, this idol, this goddess, whatever it may be, resides usually, and then speak to them. And when I say meditate, I really just mean close your eyes and imagine you are there. I know that that is quite difficult if you have aphantasia, and I honestly don't have a very good solution for it. You might have to see if there's some videos on that or some tips that you can find. Because for me, it is possible to metaphorically see the things that I'm meditating about, and I can actually walk there. If you're having trouble focusing, use your five senses, go into that place with that person, that character, whatever it may be. Could also be an ancestor of yours if your grandmother was very much a witch or something like that. And use all of your five senses, like feel the bark of the trees, feel the ground, smell whatever is going on, hear the birds singing, and just use your senses very carefully in the meditation to really ground yourself in the meditation and kind of get yourself into that world and sink yourself into it energetically. Breathe, focus on that, and then hopefully the messages will come on their own. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. That's why sometimes you have to meditate more often in order to get the results. But I feel like starting a meditation practice with something like a character you want to use as inspiration is easier than just starting it from, nothing. And you're just sitting there closing your eyes and you don't really know what's going on. So that's why I gave you that archetype, that character to really interact with and to delve into a different world. Now, the fourth thing that you can start doing in order to really unlock that witchcraft within you, that feeling of being magical, that feeling of seeing the magic in the world, is to start a journal of synchronicity and of magical occurrences. It will sharpen your senses towards what is happening in the world, towards what is actually magical around you. You can write down anything. You could focus for 1 week on numbers, focus for 1 week on colors that made you feel a particular way, focus on songs that made you feel magical, focus on dreams that keep returning, or symbols or feelings even that keep returning to you in your dreams or in reality. Symbols that you see in your dreams, that you see in reality, all of that. Like, start journaling about those kinds of things and just see where it leads you. Use your mind in a little bit of a magical way to interpret what these numbers or symbols could mean, what they mean to you. Remember that if you look things up online, that's not the be all end all. A lot of things just mean something to you. They don't mean something generally. So don't fall into fear mongering or something like, oh, you saw a snake in your dream and then you read online that snakes are evil and you're like, oh my God, something evil is going to happen. That's not how it works. Maybe you associate snakes with your mother because your mother owns a snake, or maybe you just like snakes. And then it doesn't necessarily have that collective meaning, but rather a very personal meaning to you. So always remember to empower yourself to trust yourself and your intuition and your interpretation of things. I need a hydration break. You should take a sip as well. And that's the fourth thing. Now, the fifth thing, we're getting more and more practical here, is once you've done these explorations of what kinds of things you like in your witchcraft, because not all of us are raised to even really think about what things we like in this world. And once you've explored that, once you've noticed what makes you feel magical, what plants you maybe like, what light, what time of day you like, what moon cycle you like, what all of that does for you. Doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to explore everything at the same time. But once you've got an idea of like, yeah, that makes me feel magical. I feel most magical at 11 p.m. under a full moon. I feel most magical when I'm out in the sun meditating in a park. I feel most magical when I can watch this or that TV show or play that or that video game and interact with this or that character. I feel most magical when I meditate, you know? Gather this evidence of what makes you feel witchy and powerful and magical. And then from that, the fifth thing is to make every day a little bit more magical. We're already doing that if you have a journal, but maybe you don't have time every day to journal. Maybe you don't have time every day. We all have lives to be a witch 24/7. And that's not the expectation at all. We're not trying to be something that we can't be or that we don't have time to be. We're trying to build a practice that really connects us to ourselves, to the world, to our magic. Not force ourselves into a practice that doesn't fit, you know? So making every day magical can look very simple. It could be that you create small magical routines with your face cream, for example. I have like a rose spray that I use as one step of my skincare, but if you just use a cream, you could take it, do 3 dots on your face, and every time you make a dot with the cream, you say beauty, magnetism, power, or confidence, or joy, or safety, or whatever you want to bring in. Or an affirmation. You could say a full sentence as well. I open myself to curiosity. I open myself to the magic of the world today. I remember my power as a witch today. All of that you can integrate with parts of your routine. You could also stir your tea clockwise and speak motivation into it for the day. Like you stir your tea and you say, may this tea nourish me and make my creativity blossom today, or may it protect me from influences that aren't for me, or whatever you want to say. You could, when you shower, say some words of power, some I'm letting go of any energy that doesn't belong with me. I'm washing it down the drain. The water is taking everything with it. Those are small magical rituals that you can do that will make you feel more permanently witchy. Because what I'm worried about personally is that a lot of the content we see online is about more elaborate spells or rituals and having the most out there ingredients rather than the ingredients that you already have. And all of that can be very stressful for new witches or people trying to reignite their practice. Like, even as a seasoned witch, I sometimes see that content and I'm like, I want that too. But then I remember that it's not necessarily aligned with my practice. So that is always the most important thing, to remember that it's your practice, not anyone else's. You're not trying to be anyone else, but you're really trying to find what resonates with you and what has power for you. You can be inspired by books, by reels, by YouTube videos, but at the end of the day, you decide. All right, then the sixth thing is a little bit of a more mental thing that we're talking about. This is especially for you if you're into divination, if you want to get into tarot cards, if you want to get into reading and interpreting dreams and symbols. And that is to become comfortable with the mystery, because the answers aren't always right in front of us. As an Aries, I am incredibly impatient, and it really annoys me when I do a tarot reading for myself and I maybe don't immediately get it, and I need to marinate a little bit in it. I need to think about it some more. It needs to reveal itself some more. That happens, and that is okay. So if you do a tarot reading or any other divination, or you're asking for a sign, you might need some patience, or something magical happens, a synchronicity happens, or you see a certain number that you resonate with and you're like, what does it mean? What does it mean? I need to look it up. I need to ask AI or something. What does this mean? Not necessarily. You can also just wait and see until that knowing and that wisdom comes to you. That's going to serve you much more than a quick search that you will probably end up being more confused by. I mean, if you are a more seasoned witch or you've looked up symbols online, you know that basically any animal of power or any symbol you look up, it kind of means everything. Depending on which page you click on, everyone is like, oh, it's about self-actualization. It's about protection. It's about you being on the right path. It's about you being powerful. And it's kind of, empty at that point if you read so much information that it's like, well, okay. So it's important to really connect with what it means for you and to be patient and be okay with the mystery, because we're doing a work that is very mysterious sometimes, and there's not always clear or immediate answers, and becoming comfortable with that as a witch and not going for that instant gratification is really important. And the seventh and final tip of mine is to really notice nature. What do I mean by that? I mean to go out on a walk and really interact and connect with nature. Not to walk around being like, oh, look at that, look at that, look at that, look at that. But to really ground yourself in it and be present and feel the energies around you. Maybe close your eyes, maybe breathe. But nature, no matter what kind of witch or what kind of person you are, will almost always work because we're always connected to it. We are not separate from nature. As humans, we've made up this dichotomy of there's the city and then there's nature. And that's kind of true. But in reality, everything is nature. We can always connect to it. We are part of nature. It's not human versus nature or city versus nature. Everything is nature. Everything is all around us. And we can connect with it. And Connecting with the seasons is also a very important part of that. Noticing what blossoms when, what is growing when, what is ripening when, and kind of just connecting to the land that you're living on is a lifelong process, but it's worth it. And that's exactly the opposite of instant gratification that I was mentioning, that we need to take the time to not be like, yeah, I've seen one summer very consciously now, so I know everything about summer. No, you will get wiser and older with age, and it's going to take a while, and that is okay. And to see the beauty of that and not think like, oh, it's going to take so long, I don't want to do it, but just connect with nature, and it comes naturally over the years that you do that. All right. If you want any more advice, I do have a Patreon as well. You can ask here in the comments. I do have a YouTube members area as well now. I would love to hear from you what you thought of this video, if it did anything with you, if it inspired you to do anything. And I hope that your witchcraft practice is going well and starting well, and that this was helpful. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you very, very soon.